And this is also assuming that the streaming software doesn't do anything stupid. It hasn't for a few years, but
You never know. Have you guys
exactly.
have you ever had an issue with that?
Oh, constantly.
Oh, jeez.
That's why we still
So wait,
do our obligatory audio check.
right.
Cool. We have audio. Welcome everyone to the Average Intelligence Podcast. We're going to get real stupid today and yet real smart at the same time
Very
because
smart.
we're talking about, and I don't have a problem saying this. This might be a hot take, but I don't care. We're going to do a deep dive into the best episode of Futurama of all time. I think it is the perfect Futurama episode. Not to say there
Mm.
aren't other great ones out there, but we are going to be covering Season 3, Episode 5, Amazon Women in the Mood. Original air date February 4th, 2001. I assume you've seen the episode.
I have seen the episode. I just
Yeah.
rewatched it just to refresh my memory, and
It's like,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
ready to talk about it. Yeah.
So we find our heroes. The episode begins. First of all, at the beginning of all those all Futurama episodes, it has like a small text caption at the very beginning. This one, oh, so I have some other notes. So the episode title, Amazon Women in the Mood, is a reference to a 1987 film that was a spoof parody of basically science fiction films of the 50s called Amazon Women on the Moon.
Oh,
And
I
I
didn't know
assume,
that.
yeah, I assume it has some. I kind of want to watch it now because it said that it was made in 1987, but it's a spoof of like sci-fi pulp films from the 50s.
R- Right, like it came from Mars, like those type. Yeah, yeah,
Pretty much, yeah. So I actually kind of want to watch it because the trailer gives me vibes of Black Dynamite. I don't know if you've seen Black Dynamite, the movie.
I have not. I have not.
So Black Dynamite is it's a movie that shouldn't be as funny as it is, but it's hilarious. So Black Dynamite is a parody of the like 1970s black exploitation kung fu flicks, and it's so goddamn funny. There's one scene where it's I believe it's Michael Jai White actually who plays the lead role of Black Dynamite. But
Oh, no way.
there's a scene where he's fighting multiple people, but the way they cut it, it makes it look like he's disappearing and appearing at different places, like that a normal human couldn't get to, and they do it on purpose, right? Because it literally looks like at one point he teleports. Because if I remember the scene correctly, he punches a guy like on far left of the screen, and then the camera pans right, and he kicks a guy from the other side of the screen. It's fucking beautiful. But then there's another
Mike.
really. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say Michael Jai White's a guy who really can fight. That guy knows how to fight. Like Joe Rogan was talking about him. He's like, there's certain people that when you look into their eyes, you can see that they can fight. And one of the guys he was talking about was Michael Jai White.
Well, Michael Jai White is on record saying, rightfully, that what you see in movies is not good martial arts. It's wholly
Mm.
impractical. But that's because
Yeah,
good fighting technique is very boring because it's very effective.
right. Exactly.
It's also not flashy because that tends to not work very well in the real world. But there's another moment that is just, it's so funny. So Black Dynamite busts into a room of like gangsters, right? And he's like, "Who's in charge here?" And then some guy comes up and goes, sarcastically, "I'm in charge." He says it like he read the script verbatim,
Yeah.
like he was supposed to say it
Sarca-
sarcastically. He's like,
how, how
sarcastically, I'm in charge.
how old is this movie?
It's that's a great question, and I'm going to tell you here in a moment. Because I think they did a television series too, but I'm talking about the movie.
Right.
Yeah, so they made a comedy series out of it, but the movie is, and yes, that is definitely Michael Jai White, 2009. So not super old, but
Mm, interesting. Was it meant to be a comedy?
yes, yes. So
Okay, all
it's a
right.
parody. It's a parody of those 1970s black exploitation kung fu. So like
Ah, like
everybody's got an afro. Michael Jai White's got like a thick Steve Harvey esque mustache.
right, right.
It's so
Like Shaft.
hilariously. Yes, exactly. It's kind of a parody.
Yeah.
I always viewed it as like a cross between Shaft and Jim Kelly's character from Enter the Dragon.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of the vibe I get. But or Bruce Leroy kind of
Or
stuff.
like there's that one episode of The Simpsons where Homer is watching TV. It's like coming up next, Blackula, followed by Black Dracula.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's good stuff. So
Okay.
speaking of vampire puns, do you watch Scrubs?
Do I watch Scrubs? That's the show with the ER, the people in the ER. I have not seen it. I have not seen it.
So it's my favorite. That show has my favorite vampire pun ever, Dr. Acula.
Doctor.
I'm
That's
sorry,
classic.
that one takes the cake. That one,
That's so
that's
funny.
my
Is
favorite
he
one.
is he actually a vampire in the show?
Well, okay, so Dr. Acula is a character that's written for the screenplay of one of the doctors who's writing it. So yes and no, but he's a vampire who's also a doctor. So there's one where he's having a daydream about it and he like sucks somebody's blood and he's like, "You're a touch anemic."
That's fucking
So
hilarious.
it's good shit. But
That's
anyway,
hilarious.
so like I said, original air date February 4th, 2001. The opening caption at the beginning is secreted by the comedy bee, which I
Right,
fucking love
right.
this
That's
show.
right when the TV flies into the or the ship flies into the TV, right?
No, it's at the very,
Yeah.
very beginning, right before the ship flies across the
Oh,
screen for the first time and the logo's there. Ah,
right.
there's always a little caption down below.
Yeah.
They also feature a snippet of an old, like super old cartoon.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah. I
yeah.
noticed that. It's like it's kind of like again going back to Simpsons, like when Homer is thinking and there's those cartoons like do 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 and like playing like the violin and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, by the way, everybody, if you're watching, first of all, have you seen Black Dynamite? And feel free to chime in the live chat. That is what we are here for. Even if you think I'm an idiot because I think this is the best episode of Futurama ever made. But I will tell you why, because the comedy, so both the story pacing and the comedy pacing are perfect to me because everything in this, which typical Futurama, everything in the story makes sense, but at the same time, the jokes are like appropriately paced. It's like boom,
Right.
boom, boom, constant laughing. And there's a really good balance of just general humor that's from the character humor and like references. So you can watch the show and not get any of the references and you'll still laugh. But if you're a super nerd like me, you just are constantly laughing. But so our episode opens with the team electing that Zoidberg must clean up all of Nibbler's hairballs. But when Zoidberg is unresponsive, they assume he's dead, only to have Zoidberg walk in moments later, shellless because he has molted his shell. Let's see,
Yeah.
we've got the Spur of the Moment podcast, also on the Arte Podcast Network, saying, "Fun fact: did you know that after Futurama Simpsons crossover, Bender becomes a recurring background character in The Simpsons?" I actually did know that, which is
I didn't
hilarious
know
that
that
I.
there was a crossover. That's
Oh
crazy.
yeah, yeah, there absolutely was. And what's funny though is because I slept on Futurama for a very long time because I'm not a huge fan of The Simpsons. I respect it,
Right,
but
right.
I'm not a huge fan of The Simpsons, but I
Nice.
love Futurama.
See, I'm actually the opposite. Like, I like Futurama, don't get me wrong, but classic Simpsons episodes or seasons 4 through 9, I can quote it backwards, forwards, left, right, up, down. Classic Simpsons is amazing because of the way that they constructed the jokes. So I don't know if you've like really paid attention to the way that they structure the jokes, right?
Oh, they're all
But
geniuses.
they're literally geniuses, right? So to give
Yeah,
an example, there's the episode where Bart sells his soul. Okay, and so
it's a
he's
good one.
he's walking at night, he's riding at night, because I think he's going to or from Millhouse's house, and then so the basically the joke is done in like 5 or 6 parts. So first he gets hit by the street cleaning machine, but then his bike comes out sparkling. He's like, "Oh, cool!" Then he jumps on his bike and it falls apart. and then the street cleaning guy is laughing at him, and then the machine falls down like the subway stairs. So it's literally one joke split put together by five jokes. It's
Yeah.
the writing style is truly genius, and like I think for most of that time from seasons four, I think to like season eight, Conan O'Brien was writing for The Simpsons.
I was gonna say, and it's a well-known fact that a lot of the writers for both The Simpsons and Futurama, that writing team, a lot of them have like doctorate degrees, like they're literal
Yeah.
PhDs.
Oh
So,
wow, I didn't know that.
oh yeah, so like for example, there are jokes in both series where like there will be some sort of mathematical formula written on a board somewhere, and like that's legit. Like
Hmm.
that's actual.
They do. I know that they do the homework really well for like anytime, like that, like stuff like math stuff or whatever it's usually on point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Uh,
But that joke, yeah, the way the writing style was brilliant. But then after season nine, the quality dramatically drops off. And honestly, in my opinion, Simpsons now is a show that really needs to go off the air. Like it's not funny. And what they tried to do now in like the newest seasons, like maybe, I don't know, seasons 30 to 35, because I think they're on season 35 now, is that they tried to go back to the old writing structure. But the writing team is now like half or even like a quarter of the size, I believe, and it has a bunch of new people. There's only a few writers that are original staff from the beginning, and it does not hit. It
yeah.
does not hit. So they try to make Homer more of like kind of a doofus kind of thing, and it just doesn't work. And then you can also hear Marge. Marge's voice sounds very strange. She like I'm not I know it's the same voice actor, but like her voice just doesn't sound like, because I think years of doing that raspy voice kind of like ruined her vocal cords.
Well,
Yeah.
and then it does change because even I was watching an interview that Seth MacFarlane was doing with Mila Kunis was there, Seth Green was there, and then oh gosh, the actress that plays Lois, I'm spacing on her name. I know who
Oh,
she is.
short. She's like a short lady with
Yeah,
black hair. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I know who she is, but I just can't, and I
Is her
feel
name
bad because
Francine? I feel like her name is Francine.
no. Let's see. Lois Griffin, because I feel bad.
Hmm,
Voice. Because I know who she is. She's very Alex Borstein.
there you
So
go.
stupid. Ah, thank you, Justin. He was there with the save. He said, if you heard Marge's voice, they need to let the poor woman retire. Yeah. Well, but anyway,
Yeah,
so he was doing an interview with all of them, and he talked about, he was like, all of our voices have changed from the
right,
first season, and I'm like, yeah, well, like I knew that, obviously,
right.
and I'm not talking about, because I know there were some different voice cast in place before, but I mean, even from early seasons of Family Guy to now, all the character voices sound different.
They 100% do. But Family Guy, you know what? I would say that Family Guy has aged far better. Like the newest episodes of Family Guy are way funnier than the oldest seasons. Like especially the first two seasons are absolutely awful. Like when
You really,
Homer when Peter's working at the toy factory, I
yeah,
believe.
yep.
Yeah. But they have a great joke about Portuguese people, because they're talking about when he used to be a fisherman. And then he's
Oh,
like, "Oh, I had to."
they have a lot of running gags at the beginning of the Stewie Griffin Untold Story movie. They have a whole bit where like a Portuguese plane goes down and they're like speaking Portuguese the whole time. And I'm just like, why Portuguese of all,
That's
like there's got to be.
because I think the humor in that is just because, like, I guess whatever area there. Well, actually, California, there's quite a few Portuguese people, but most people, like in the United States, probably don't know what a Portuguese person is, unless you live in like Rhode Island or California, because there's lots of them there.
There's
So
probably I disagree because I know what Portugal is, but there you're probably right. There's probably an
yeah, like
alarming number of an Americans who are like, what the fuck is a
what's a
port? What's a port?
that's the joke. That's the joke, right? So
Yeah,
they're talking about, oh, I used to be a fisherman. You had two assistants that were Portuguese, and he's like, what's a Portuguese? And then it cuts to two geese on a porch, and he's like, "Ah,
that's
that's
what
what
I
I
was
thought of
gonna say.
Portuguese." Yeah,
So yeah, okay, I guess the joke's there, right? Um,
yeah,
so anyway, so then we shift to Amy hears her cell phone ring, which remember, this is 2001 because
right.
this gag did not age well, but holy shit, if you were around during that time, old enough to
With
have a
cell
cell
phones
phone,
becoming
you totally understand this because
100%.
there was a time, Gen Zers, when the fad was how small can we make cell phones? and we saw some really, really small phones. There's a gag
Yeah.
in the movie Zoolander about him having a tiny cell phone. Like
Right.
it was making fun of that trend. And then it was honestly the iPhone where people were like, "Oh no, we want big phones now because bigger the phone, more
Right.
functionality." They
Right.
got
Which
they got pretty small. What was it? The Crazer that was like the thin
the
razor?
crazy, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the super thin one. Yeah. But then they also started coming out with phones that like are more than a phone. Like, for example, I remember there was a walkie-talkie phone that came out for a little while. And so if you there was other people that had the walkie-talkie phone, you could just like,
Yep,
you press the button and just
Nokia's push to
push
talk.
to talk.
I used to
That's the
sell it.
one. Yes. You used to sell it.
Yeah, I
Wow.
used
Well,
to
like tell
sell
us.
yeah, I used to sell cellular phones and I was around
No way.
all during that craze. And actually, you know what I would say, and this is going to be really obscure. It actually, I make the case, it wasn't the iPhone that stopped that because also flip phones were big
Sure.
until I think it was Motorola, but it was the Rocker. And the big thing there was you could load MP3 files
Mm,
into it. So
right.
so it was like a phone and an MP3 player. And I think that was
Right.
honestly because that was a very popular phone, but it was also a bar phone.
Yeah.
And you got to remember bar phones before then, people think like the shitty Nokia ones that are indestructible,
Right.
but
Right.
the display is shit. And then you had flip
Right.
phones coming around, and that evolved into the Razor, which the Razor is back now, by the way.
Right. Is it actually like a flip
Yep.
phone?
Yep.
That's
They're
the thing. But
making,
it doesn't it it has a touchscreen now, doesn't it?
yeah, it flips into a smartphone. I know,
Right.
I've seen him, and I know a guy who has it. He actually loves it. It's actually,
Yeah.
which I get though, so because he's a contractor, so I get why he probably doesn't want an iPhone in his pocket. So I get
You
it.
know what? I would actually look, coming from a guy that I do construction on weekends. I have a lot of friends in the construction industry, and all I do is I sell to contractors. And iPhones are it for contractors because just for one simple fact alone, the fact that they make the screens out of Gorilla Glass. Because actually, my girlfriend just went through a thing where she dropped her phone off the couch and onto carpet,
She's
and
gonna
it's
throw it at
Samsung.
you.
Maybe. Yeah. So she dropped her phone and it cracked. Like the whole screen cracked in the exact same place that her last phone cracked. Like literally in the exact same place. So it must be a manufacturer's defect. And now she's had to get two phones in the screen replaced. So one's in like the Freedom Repair. Freedom is a phone carrier here
Yeah.
in Toronto. Um, yeah, one is at their repair center, and the other one she just got fixed on the weekend, so she could have a phone.
Oh, nice.
But
I will
yes,
say this. I love my iPhone, but Samsung kicks their ass on cameras, bro. Like
cameras, yeah, but I'm not much of a photographer, so for me, like I don't really care. What
I'm really considering, honestly, I'm considering buying just a Samsung phone or tablet, like one of the smaller ones, just for the camera.
really,
I mean,
yeah,
it's really good looking. It
right.
takes very good. But I also thought, well, then I can just buy a camera, you know?
That's true. If you
That's
want,
kind of what I'm that's kind of
you
what
might
I'm
as well
but I
just
mean,
buy an actual digital SLR.
the phone's a little bit more portable, but again, I'm just acknowledging Samsung wins on the camera. You make shit appliances, and the rest of your phones are shitty. But
Are
I'm so
you uh are you a big photography guy?
no, but I make a lot of videos.
Right. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean my
Right.
iPhone works for now, and I mean it can record in 4K. So I mean I'm
Which
probably
iPhone do you have?
that's a great question. I can't remember. I think this is the 13.
Hmm.
No,
Okay, so
it's
yours
not.
is still like
I think this is the 12.
still yours is still really new. It's only 3 years old.
It's fairly new. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm still using an iPhone XR. And the only reason I haven't gotten a new phone is because I honestly don't need to. My phone literally
yeah.
runs perfectly fine. It's got 64 gig, which is more than enough for me. I don't like the only thing I really do with my
That's
phone is listen to music.
Yeah. That's the thing I learned with what I do. There's a lot of video files on my phone at any given time. I learned
Right.
pay for the extra storage if you're doing
Sure.
it's absolutely worth it. If you're doing anything, if you do a lot of photography or video stuff, it's absolutely
Sure.
worth it.
Sure.
Um but yeah, so the gag is Amy has a tiny, tiny cell phone, and at one point Leela actually asked her, "Did you swallow your phone again?" But Amy, it's revealed that Amy has been receiving phone calls from a mysterious number for a few weeks now, where all she hears on the
Right.
other line is,
Heavy
and
breathing. Yeah, yeah.
she vents her frustration. But we are immediately shown that it's actually Kif
Good
of
old Kif.
the of the
In his tiny closet
society
bedroom on
closet.
the ship.
When Zap Brannigan has a literal suite, which I will say this: if I didn't love everything about Future, if I had to pick one thing about Futurama that I love more than anything, it's probably Zap Brannigan.
Oh, the dichotomy between Kip and Zap Brannigan is hilarious. Like
It is
that's the part of the episode where he comes in and he's like, "Oh, I think maybe I'll give Amy chocolates." And
I
then oh no, or is that when they're walking in? They're walking into the
yeah, they're
restaurant.
walking there. Chocolates are for
Yeah, yeah.
dorks, and then he eats them.
Yeah, he's eating them.
But so
Right?
I quote Zap Brannigan constantly, and a lot of like I quote more lines from this episode than any of the episode. And like my favorite one is like, "Oh, Kif, I didn't know you'd be crying like a woman."
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God, fucking hilarious. Fucking hilarious.
But during his pep talk, Zap realizes that Amy, who Kif is pining for, knows his Leela,
Right.
which is a callback to a previous episode, which was A Flight to Remember, where Zap is piloting essentially the space Titanic and causes it to
Right.
crash, and everybody gets out on the escape pods. And Kif has been
Right.
pining. Kif has been pining for Amy ever since, but I don't have the courage to say anything. So anyway, this prompts Zap to call Leela and negotiate what
A
ends up
half date.
being a half double date.
We'll meet you for part of dinner and half a bottle of wine.
It is a part of dinner and the first half of a movie.
The first half. Oh wait, that's right. Yes, the first
Yeah,
half of a movie.
but
Apologies for
there.
the misquotes.
Oh no, it's all good. I'm a fucking nerd. When it
Nothing
comes
wrong
to
with that.
Kif, I've made it with a woman. Inform the men.
Inform them. I like Zach Branding. Although in later episodes he actually ends up being like sort of a good guy, even
Oh
though he's a
sure,
piece of
sure.
shit. Yeah,
But that's you know what
yeah,
that is? That's good writing because
right.
it's easy, but it gets stale if somebody stays constantly a buffoon or
Agreed.
yeah, so you have to and then there's an episode where Zap and Leela get stuck on a planet together. And he actually, though he's a bumbling idiot, he actually does kind of show he's not a terrible guy. He's
Oh,
just
I swear
incompetent.
there an episode where him and Leela actually get down.
I think that's
There
when they
is an
first
episode.
meet. That's the
Yeah,
episode. That's the episode of Kif. I've made it with a woman.
that's right. Yeah. Inform the men. Yeah.
I just love that. Inform the men afterward. That's such a
That's
great.
so funny. That's so funny. As if,
Uh,
they need to know. It's
of course, they
classic.
needed to. If I've just scored, everyone must know.
Right?
But
Like,
so they meet at the restaurant. The restaurant name I forgot about this. They meet at Le Palme d'Orbit.
the orbit, right? Which is I think that's a play on there was a restaurant in Las Vegas in the 60s that was called the Palm d'Or, which is golden palm, I guess.
So
It was like
it could also just be a reference to the Palm restaurant, which is a chain, but it's known for being very expensive. And Zap actually, Kif starts ordering.
oh,
Well, Kif starts ordering. He's like, Kif,
he's like,
you'll
yes,
have
food's
nothing.
expensive here.
He's like,
I'll
Kif,
have
this
two
place is
steaks.
expensive. Yeah.
I'll have two steaks, and the women will have two salads with low calorie dressing.
He's like, two sexy salads with low calorie dressing. It's great.
Yeah.
But apparently, also, the Palme d'Or is the highest prize at the Cannes Film Festival. So maybe there's a little.
Oh,
But the joke is, it's a restaurant that's orbiting a planet. So
right.
I thought that was funny, and then also
On the orbit.
a nice little gag in there too. Which Futurama is full of these, so like you gotta watch for these little gags. There's a sign above the coat check that says there's a 25% surcharge for each sleeve over 9.
Oh, right. And then as the millipede's walking away, right?
Which 9 sleeves?
9 sleeves. Well, it's strange that they charge a surcharge on sleeves, but I guess they have in their universe they have many multi-armed
I was
individuals.
gonna say that might be. I'm guessing because if you don't want to coat to like if it's a super nice look at me explaining a half a second joke
I,
or trying to
right.
justify a half second joke. I'm guessing though it's because like when you hang up a suit jacket, right? The hanger
Mhm.
also doubles as a way to keep the shoulders from creasing. So I'm
That's right.
guessing maybe you need multiple hangers.
Maybe they have special hangers that are more expensive to make, and so they have to, and it takes more time too, right? Like usually you
It's
hang a
probably the
jacket,
time, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the time spent of like getting each sleeve over the next rung of the hook.
Or it could just be good old fashioned xenophobia.
That's also true. Actually, I never really thought about that. But it seems like they have multiple species or races
That's what I'm
working at the
saying.
restaurant,
Oh no,
right?
well, yeah, maybe, but I mean that doesn't necessarily mean that they want them as clientele,
True. Yeah,
you
that's
know.
possible as well. Yeah. That kind of reminds me of the gag from Rick and Morty when Rick is looking for who shit in his toilet and he goes to a frog restaurant that's run by a fly. And then he's like who uh who shit in my toilet. He's like, that's what this is about. He's like, there's a million other things about me that I'm a fly running a frog restaurant that I sell drugs, but that's what you want to know.
That's what you're on about.
Yeah,
So Zap introduces one of the best gags. He gives Kif his book of pickup lines, which
right. They're awful. They're just
so
awful.
we hear two of them. The first one, and of course, Kif doesn't know what these are. And Zap's advice is say them as quickly and as frequently as possible. Don't stop for
Yes.
any reason. So
No, it's
Kif,
say as many as you can as quickly as possible.
yes. So because he's so nervous, he opens up the book. If I said you had a beautiful body, would you take your pants off and dance around a little?
By the
Which
way,
I'm just,
your
I've
Kif
I,
impression is on point.
I've worked on my Kif for many
It's
years.
excellent. It's excellent. I cannot do
And
a
it's
Kif.
because of one line that's coming up. So I do want to point out one thing. For anyone, this episode is chock full of misogyny, and I'm going to give you a breakdown on good writing. It is worth noting all the misogyny jokes are made by the morons in the show. And there's a reason for that. You notice Kif, who is the only good guy in this episode, doesn't make a single misogynistic comment, doesn't make a single inappropriate comment in any way, shape, or form.
He's the only good guy in the A plot because the B plot about
Okay,
Zoidberg,
that's fair. That's
right?
fair.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, don't talk shit about me.
yeah. I love. Sorry, I can't. I think we're jumping ahead a little bit, but the part that really cracked me up is when Zoidberg is trying on the new shells, and then who's the Jamaican guy? What's his name?
Hermes.
Pardon?
Hermes.
Hermes is like the only shell it covers is a basic shell, and then he gives him it's like a white shell with like a barcode on it. I seriously lost it on that after seeing Mexican Zoidberg. I thought that was quite humorous.
That's and yeah, and then it leads to a Bender gag, but we'll get there because that's
Oh,
another
that's
good one.
right. I'm sorry. Sorry, I
No,
ignored
no,
all
no,
that.
no. You're
My bad.
fine. Jump ahead, whatever.
Yeah,
But like we'll go.
yeah.
So and then everyone's you know obviously upset with Kif for saying something so offensive. So he flips to another third page and says one of my favorite lines ever. I I find the most erotic part of a woman is the boobies.
And he is and then Zap tries to use that same line
He
later in
uses
the
it
episode.
later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the ladies go to the restroom to plot their storm out. At which case Zap says, "We need to save this date with karaoke." And so some fun facts here: Zap's song "Leela" is a spoof of the song Lola, but the performance is a spoof of William Shatner's spoken singing style,
That's right.
which
That's right.
Shatner himself would perform a musical number on another episode of Futurama where he gives his own rendition of The Real Slim Shady.
Oh,
And it
does he
is,
actually? No
will
way.
the real Slim Shady please stand up?
Please stand up.
Please stand up. Please stand up. It is. Which that's another. So
That's
Futurama has a history of having various members of the voice casts of various Star Trek shows. But I think some of my favorite gags are when they play themselves because there's a I can't remember the name of the episode, but basically there's an episode where because for those of you who aren't aware, what I'm going to assume you're aware, you're watching an episode about Futurama, so you know that there are preserved heads of celebrities and people from the
right.
past, and that includes the cast of the original Star Trek. And there's a wonderful episode where they are given bodies by aliens to reenact old episodes of Star Trek. So they're taken hostage. It's
Oh, that's right. There is an episode where they reenact
it is
Star
a
Trek.
it's a wonderful episode. And there, of course, Bill Shatner in that episode, he's like actually thinks he's the captain, and everybody else is like, "We got to get out of here." He's like, it's it's such a great episode. There are a lot where the original voice casts lend their voices, but sometimes Bill Shatner might be playing actual Captain Kirk. Sometimes he's playing
Mhm.
Bill Shatner, and it makes sense because Futurama is just insane.
Can we
Uh,
talk for a second about that spoken word phase that William Shatner had? Where he
as a
did, I think
phase,
the
he
song is
doesn't still
called.
do it.
Does he still do it? I didn't even know. Like, I
I
mean,
just assume
he's
that's the way
old.
he's
He's
saying. Yeah.
no, but he did because he departed from TV. I think just after start. Actually, that album, Rocket Man. When what? Can you look up when that came out?
His album?
Or is that a song? Yeah. That's that spoken word
It's a
album.
it's a song, but maybe he had a we'll
I
be
think he
there.
did. I think he did like a whole album. But the one
Yeah.
single, if you want to call it a single, was Rocket Man. He's
Oh
like
my
Rocket Man,
God.
Rocket Man to the moon, like whatever you're saying.
Oh, okay, so
Um,
no, Zap. Oh, I'm so glad you said that because Zap's karaoke performance is a spoof of this song because
right.
he's smoking a cigarette while he's singing it.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. There was a very
I'm gonna
there was
I'm gonna play a snippet of this. Hopefully YouTube doesn't flag us, but I think if it's just a small snippet, we'll be fine.
this is in the context of editorial. So I don't think I'm getting the audio here. Is it playing?
It is, yeah, but it might not be coming through.
I'm not getting the audio.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
can't hear it.
Well,
I can't hear
it's quite funny.
it.
It's
Is there an actual because
Chris,
there
it's an
was a
actual
video
video.
clip, right, of him in front of he's on a stage with like a red curtain and he's Rocket Man to the moon. Blah blah
That's
blah. Yeah.
literally what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very strange thing. Like he did that after, I believe it was after Star Trek, but before he started doing cameos and appearances on other shows because he went back to TV after his failed music career.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah.
Can't
Well, I
fathom
mean,
why.
right?
But yeah, so I'm actually really glad you said that because after watching that video, Zap's whole performance is a spoof of exactly what you're talking about when he's singing Rocket
That's
Man
right.
or when he's
Right.
saying Rocket Man. Yeah.
Saying, singing, sing talking, talk singing.
What's that? Family Guy also did a parody of it with Stewie. Yes. Oh yeah, they did. Cause I'm a Rocket Man.
Oh yeah, no, but see, that's old
It's
Family Guy.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
old Family Guy. Like, see, I old Family Guy just does not do it for me. Like, I would say everything season 8 onwards is where Family Guy started to get a lot better. Although I
I
also find that Family Guy is a lot of it's very cheap comedy where it's like
yeah,
almost slapstick, maybe.
a lot of it, but there's also a lot of really smart gags in there. But honestly, it depends on the season. I can't remember what season it's in, but I remember just I was done with Family Guy. It didn't make me laugh, and then I can't remember. I think it was 2013. The number 13's in
Mm,
my mind, but it was when they did the
mhm.
Road to Germany episode,
That episode is so fucking funny.
and
Like
that
when
was a return to form, and I was like, okay, I'm back in because this is
that
Family Guy. This is what I
that
love.
episode is fucking hilarious. I think that episode has the one where Stewie and Hitler are doing. the mirror gag where he thinks he's in a mirror and they're just like trying
Yeah,
to like he's
yeah,
doing all the movements to try and imitate Hitler. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's such a great
Classic.
all of the Road to episodes are fantastic, but that's the one where they're in Poland, right? And Brian's like, huh, I can't remember why
That's right.
this. And he's like, huh, I can't remember why this is important. And the whole time I'm
That
just like,
was the first
oh no.
that was the first episode that they did where it was kind of like a more story driven episode in the sense of it being like a thematic story versus a plot B plot.
Yeah,
I don't
for that
exactly know
one,
what
yeah.
this I don't know what the story device would be called for that, but basically, yeah, that was the first. Because then afterwards, they did Road to India. They had some episodes about like the time machine.
Well,
Um,
they had done other road episodes before. I think the first one was Road to Rhode Island, and
mhm.
Stewie and Brian do that surprisingly
Was Road
catchy.
to the
I think that
yeah,
was the
that song.
first one.
We're on the road to Rhode
And
Island.
then
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and like I'm like this shouldn't be as good as it is, but Family Guy's
It is
musical comedy is I love. Well, it's because I
the
mean they can all
you
fucking
know
sing, but
because Seth MacFarlane, he is like a very big swing music guy.
yeah,
He's really into like swinging like Frank Sinatra and like I don't know, I guess like Sammy Davis Jr. and
if it's in
what
the
are the
Rat
other
Pack, he's into it.
yeah, exactly. Rat Pack. Rat Pack. Now that's actually swing and Rat Pack music is different eras, isn't it? Because
I
the Rat Pack era
mean,
was like the 50s, wasn't it?
it's kind of its own. I mean, I'm sure it fits into a specific genre somewhere,
Sure.
but when you're
Sure.
talking about the Rat Pack, it's kind of its own. It's kind of its
It's its
own
own thing.
thing. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
a lot of a lot of the faster stuff could be in swing. What do they call it? Crooning, crooning vocals.
Crooning,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that era is like late 50s, early 60s, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason I know that is because
Correct.
you see commercials for like the Ed Sullivan box set and then all those people, or like the old roasts, like
Yeah, yeah.
the old roasts. And I don't like still, I mean, obviously those were before my time. So I see these roast commercials and there's all these comedians and actors from I have no idea who the fuck they are. But that was see that was like the era of like Don Rickles,
Yes. It's
right?
good shit.
Yeah, Don Rickles and just trying to remember. I don't know. Yeah, Don Rickles. Which I know about that stuff because that's like 'cause I love stand up, so I know a little bit about that kind of
So
stuff.
I actually like, and again, this is the Average Intelligence podcast. We go way off topic, but I will say
Yes, we do.
for anybody who says they don't like old style or older comedians, I just was saying. So I got introduced. Well, I didn't get introduced, but I think it was the first time I realized I'm like, oh, okay, that's Bob Newhart. I know I'd heard him, seen him before,
Right,
but so
right.
I first made that like, oh, this is Bob Newhart on The Big Bang Theory, and that made me because I heard somebody talking about his King Kong bit, and first of all, I love Bob Newhart's style of comedy. He's
Hmm.
a fucking gem.
I'm confused. You know what? For a second, I was confusing Bob Newhart with Bob Hope.
Yeah, no, totally different.
And yeah, no, 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 no. Okay, sorry. But see, you know what though? I'm biased too because to be honest, like my girlfriend and I, we have a thing where we despise boomers, boomer culture, boomer music,
I think he's
and
pre-boomer.
I was gonna say he's probably pre-boomer. Like boomer comedy to me is like, have you ever heard of Dorf on Golf? Do you know what
Yes,
that is?
Steven. Yes, Steven, I do remember you. No, I'm not familiar.
Dorf,
Hey, where the fuck have you been? I mean, where the heck have you been, young man? You haven't been
who's
fulfilling your Steven has been noticeably absent, noticeably in the sense that I noticed it just now
oh
because he
geez,
said
who's
something.
Steven?
Steven is a young fan of ours who uh
Hello,
I'll,
Steven. Good afternoon. I can't see any of your comments, but hello.
oh yeah, Steven, how are you? I hope you're well. Yes, I do remember you. Where have you been, buddy? We missed you. He's always very good commenter. We appreciate the engagement.
Yeah, yeah. The engagement is always very important. Who knew that when I started off commenting that I would be a guest host on here?
Yeah, exactly. He said, "Hello, man who hates boomers."
Hello, good afternoon. I'm guest host, Mr. Toast. Pleasure to meet you.
Toast the guest host.
Toast, the guest host, yeah, soon to be host of the Breakfast Club, coming soon.
Please.
I think I was talking to my girlfriend actually. Speaking of the Breakfast Club, I was talking to my girlfriend. I think she would like to guest host with me. She is hilarious.
I thought about suggesting that, but I was like, I don't even know who she is, and I don't want to.
She's very funny. She's very funny, very hilarious. Just like that South Park episode, she's very smart, very funny.
Okay, wow, you caught me off guard with that one.
Very smart, very hilarious.
Oh my god, but those are
Get
my
over
favorite jokes. Those are my
smart and
favorite.
hilarious. Get over yourself. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna tell you. So I love what did you say? I've been away from my phone for a while. I've been working on my mental health, like working out and helping me.
Good.
And then Justin hit me with pro tip, get yourself a podcast you can push around. So, but
I am I am bigger than her. I am bigger than her. So yes, I could push her around. It probably that would be good if I'm the host and she's my co-host. I probably want her to be pushed around because to be honest, the guest host that I was considering is like he's like a 6.5 foot tall, very jacked Polish guy who fights jujitsu and Muay Thai. So I probably don't want him as a podcaster guest host because then he can push me around.
yeah. Well, Steven, I'm glad you're doing better. Hope to see you around more podcasts.
Glad you're working on your mental health, sir.
Yes, sir. But I'm gonna tell you. So my favorite kind of jokes, and I do miss my ex-father-in-law immensely because he and I had the same sense of humor. His daughter was just a cunt. But my favorite joke that I okay, there's two. There's two jokes that I told. Our goal with each other was always to catch the other one off guard, ideally in public, but so so the first the first joke was I had heard he made mention we used to go down there for Christmas every year, and he kept telling me about this new uh, like genuine like kangaroo hide hat that he imported from Australia. He was very proud of it, and I'm just like, okay. So, but then we're getting ready to go out somewhere, and he walks out, and it looks like a fucking Indiana Jones hat,
Oh
and
wow.
he's
Oh,
like,
it's a fucking like a Crocodile Dundee type hat.
yeah. But
Right,
so
right.
he comes out wearing. He was like, "All right, are we ready to go?" And I go, "Where the fuck are we going? The Temple of Doom?" And then I mean, the whole room lost their
That's
shit.
good.
And the thing of it
That's
was,
funny.
the reason he and I worked together is because we could not offend each other, and
Sure.
and he lost it too, and he thought it was funny. But my favorite joke I ever got him with would actually became a running gag for like almost 10 years because it was the first,
Mm,
I think it was the second time we'd gone down there. We would stay with her dad on New Year's Eve, and we were
mm-hmm,
watching Dick Clark. This is pre Ryan Seacrest being a in the title. So we were watching Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve,
mm-hmm.
and this was so early. This is when Ryan Seacrest was on the ground, like interviewing people.
Right.
But
Right.
I was just kind of poking fun at the fact that I was kind of poking fun at the fact that Ryan Seacrest was like trying to steal his thunder the whole time. But then afterwards, we also had a tradition of playing Wii golf, and
Oh, we golf. Oh,
yeah,
that's so nice.
oh,
Like I like we golf.
it's great. I mean, we're talking hours of it, but anyway. So for some reason at his house, the weather was always crazy. Like the weather on Wii golf, it was I
Uh-huh.
don't know why it was always super windy. So we'd always have to
Interesting.
adjust. But he was just having a really bad time on one hole, and
Mm.
he's got like a triple bogey if he's lucky. And then I said his name was Ashley, so I said, "Come on, Ashley, you've got more strokes than Dick Hart."
That's
And
hilarious.
he just, I mean, he put his head down and was just
He's just dying, eh?
so that became a
Ashley,
joke.
that's very interesting that he was named Ashley because that's like that is a male name, but that's very much like an older generation thing. I feel like that's a
It's it,
boomer,
his mother
maybe even
liked
pre-boomer.
no, definitely Boomer. His mother loved Gone with the Wind.
I have not seen Gone with the Wind. That's the one with the girl who takes care of. some kids. She's like a teacher or something, a tutor, and they're in the German Alps, and she sings a
No,
lot.
no, that's The Sound of Music.
Ah, oops, Sound
Yeah.
of Music. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gone with the Wind is set during the American Civil War.
Okay. Is Gone with the Wind the Stella? Is that
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
that's it? Yes, yes. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
but
familiar with it.
that character's name, his name is Ashley. So,
Hang on 1 second.
oh, you muted yourself. I was like,
Sorry,
what's happening?
I muted myself. Yeah, just to talk to the wife. She's doing stuff. Oh, there she
Ah,
is. There she is. You'll talk to
uh,
her after. Yeah, she's really good.
okay, very
Um,
cool.
I'll I'll probably have her on for the Breakfast Club episode 1. We'll try a pilot and see how people react.
Excelente.
Excelente. That's right, brother.
So,
Excelente. That's my word.
so Zap also refers to his karaoke persona as the velour fog, which is a
Oh
reference to
yeah.
a reference which is a reference to the velvet fog Mel Torme.
Who is Mel Torme?
I have
I
no
know I've
fucking
heard that name
idea.
before. I've
I'm
heard that name
assuming
before.
I'm assuming he may be a crooner. He may be a fellow crooner.
Right.
I
Oh,
don't know.
actually, speaking of crooning, completely off topic. Did you know the Nirvana song "Smells Like Teen Spirit"?
Yes.
Did you know that that song was originally written and performed by Paul Anka?
I did not, but I'm not surprised now that you say that.
It is the strangest thing. I listened to it, a performance. It's Paul Anka performing. I don't know what the original title of the song is, but it's wild. Like if you're a Nirvana fan and then you hear that, and it sounds so odd, but it also kind of works. It's kind of like when you hear, okay, so I don't know if you knew this as well. Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears was originally written by who is the black trumpet guy that talks like this?
Oh, god damn it. And
You
yes, I
know who I'm
didn't.
talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I did know that that was a cover, that Britney Spears, which actually
right.
is a perfect segue into the sponsor part, which I actually forgot, so I apologize. Once again, this podcast is brought to you by Velena, and Velena also has a metal cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time. It's what's the actual name of the song? Is it One More Time? Hit Me Baby One More Time? I can't
It's
remember.
Hit Me Baby, brackets or
One More
parentheses,
Time.
one more time. Yeah.
Yes. But they have a cover
Louis
of this song.
Armstrong. Louis Armstrong.
Yes. That's that guy. But yes, Valena, on top of having their new album, Save Me From Myself, they also released a single cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time in parentheses.
Fantastic album. I had to listen after the last podcast.
Right?
Fire. Go check it
Yeah.
out.
It's the whole thing's good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's
100%.
extremely good. And I'm not just
It
saying that
very
because
much,
they're
very much reminds me of Evanescence.
you know what? I think it was actually Justin from Spur of the Moment said everybody keeps saying Evanescence, but Flyleaf. And I'm like, yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I still think more Evanescence, but that's just because there are some songs that have more of a softer, not necessarily maybe ethereal feel to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of more Evanescence. Flyleaf, at least as far as I know, was always a little bit more. Oh, you said Paramore. You're right. I'm sorry, Justin. Yes, he said more Paramore vibes. Which,
Paramore is
okay,
also a pretty
yeah,
good band.
yeah, that makes sense. I could see both. But yes, check out Velena. Their link tree link is in the description, and check out Baby One More Time because that's the name of the song, Baby One More Time, because it is way better than it has any business being for a metal cover of that song. And it's so funny because it's in my playlist, and every time it comes on, because I always set my playlist to random. Whenever it comes on, I'm always like, because the intro does not sound like it's not. They don't start out going like din din din. They start out with a little bit more of a metal flair, and I'm like, the fuck song is
Right.
this? And then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, now I remember.
Mhm. Just FYI, time check. We've got half hour,
Okay,
and
because
I
we're
apologize. Yeah, because we got to stay on track with the
yeah,
episode
yeah,
recap.
yeah. So anyway,
It
Zap's
just we
performance.
always go on tangents.
Yeah. That's part of the fun. So Zap's singing causes everyone in the restaurant to flee to the escape pods, and Zap says, "No problem. There's not a restaurant alive that I can't
And that I
fly."
can't fly.
which which gives one of my the hilarious lines. She's built like a steakhouse, but she handles
As
like a bistro.
like a bistro. I thought that was very, very
I,
funny.
it
I thought
was
that was
great.
very, very
It
funny.
was so funny. So he obviously crash lands because, damn you, gravity, you win again. So this is when we
And
cut
then,
back to. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna. Oh, I guess we're coming back to B plot, right? Oh wait, oh wait.
Yes,
Keep
yes.
going. Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's when we go back to Planet Express and we do the whole Zoidberg going through the shell catalog. And Bender says it's offensive because he's made in Mexico, and he opens up his chest flap and it says "Hecho
yeah.
en
Hesho in
Mexico."
Mexico.
Yeah. Then that leads to another great line when they find out that the restaurant crash landed and Fry needs to convince Bender to go. He says, "But Bender, think of the senoritas."
That's
Okay,
right.
vámonos.
Vamonos. That's funny that Bender is Mexican. I think that's very hilarious
Well, because
because
his name is Bender. What is his last name? I
oh,
know it's
it's Bender like Velasquez. It's like something
something.
really Spanish.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But also too, I think that the joke in that is like, because a robot could be built in Mexico, and you'd think he would have like a Mexican accent,
not
but he's a
necessarily.
robot, so he can't really have an accent, could he?
Not
Well, actually, I guess
necessarily.
the other robots, like the gangster robots in Futurama, have like
Oh,
the
it's Ben.
gangster accent. So
His full name is Bender Bending Rodriguez,
there you go. Yeah. Rodriguez.
which confirms is manufactured in Tijuana, Mexico.
Is Tijuana? I guess Tijuana's full of crime, isn't it? Like because it's like a border town.
Apparently it used to be much worse. Apparently it's getting cleaned
Mm,
up. I don't know. Never been to
mm,
Tijuana personally. Um,
sure.
but at the same time, I apparently was in the middle of one of the most violent states in Mexico and had no fucking
Right.
ideas. So
I actually think I remember reading. Now, this is coming from an uneducated Canadian, but I think I remember reading that the reason that Tijuana and other towns close to the border were so disputed or violent was because there was disputed territory between the cartels because obviously those towns are close to the border, and the closer you're out of the border, the closer or the easier it is to smuggle, right?
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So then we go back to the planet, and then there's a wonderfully funny exchange of, "Well, where are we? No idea. This area of space is uncharted." "It's not uncharted. You just lost the
You
chart."
lost the map. Yeah.
And
Yes.
this is the point where they're discovered by giant Amazons, and Sap brings the line back. "I find the most erotic part of a woman is the," because at that point they are lifted
Yes.
up.
And then
They're
and she
lifted
starts
up and
smacking him with the club.
taken away. We then cut to Bender and Fry crash landing on the planet because Leela is the pilot, so Fry cannot fly the
Right.
ship. And upon landing, they discover a giant hair clip and a giant can of Tab soda.
Right. What is tab? We don't have
So
tab. I didn't get that joke.
Tab was a. I mean, I don't think it is still around, but it was a soda that was basically like one of the first high profile low calorie sodas. So it was like it
Okay.
was it was it was never, I think, exclusively marketed to women, but it kind of
But
colloquially became like the
did you,
woman's soda.
because it had aspartame, didn't it?
I'm sure it did. Yeah,
Okay, question. Did you ever try tab? That's also like
I am not.
so for me as a Canadian, tab is one of those ethereal movie drinks, much like Mr. Pibb.
Oh, so Mr.
Do you
Pibb's
guys
very much a real thing. Yes.
really? And what is Mr. I've heard that it's like kind of like Dr. Pepper. Do you guys know what Dr. Pepper
It's
is?
yeah, it's kind of the Coke version of Dr. Pepper, essentially.
Interesting. That is so strange. And do you guys have Mr. Pibb in Indiana?
We do. It
In,
actually depends. So typically your restaurants here will be either Coke or Pepsi. Dr. Pepper is the exception. A lot of people don't know this. Dr. Pepper is still an independent company. It is not owned by Coke or Pepsi.
weird.
It
No
is also
way.
it is also the first soft drink ever invented. A lot of people think it's Coca-Cola. It was actually Dr. Pepper. Actually, I think no, I think root beer,
Weird.
generally speaking, may have been, but the first branded soda was Dr. Pepper. And to this day, it's still
That's
independent,
strange.
which is why, but
Did
that's
you
why
know
you'll have Fanta. What
Fanta was
about
created
Fanta?
by the Nazis?
Yes, I did know that.
Fanta,
So
yeah,
was
yeah.
not Nutella the brand, but hazelnut spread
Hazelnut spread. That's right, because they couldn't get peanuts imported.
or
That's right.
chocolate. So
Nutella.
yeah, they did.
Right, right. But Nutella was created under fascist Italy, I think, because they didn't have
I think you're right.
peanuts. Yeah, I think so. I think there
Oh,
was
Justin said, I just realized what episode you're talking about.
the Snoo episode.
Yeah, funny story. Once I was at a party and I was asked how I want to die, and I said death by snooze. The poor person just stared at me like, I forgot to write it down, but when they're about ready to get snoo to death, I said, "Bye, friends. I never thought I would die this way, but I always hoped."
I was I love when they cut to it's like, how do those guys die? Death by snooze, or no, crushed
Crushed
pelvises.
pelvises, and one of them's
And
got a
then you see
cigarette.
what is the cigarette? Yeah, the other one's like relaxing back like this.
Yeah. And then there's another great line where the Amazonians are describing their society, and Fry goes, "A female leader," and then Leela says, "Shut up, Fry," and he says, "Yes,
He's like,
Captain."
yes, Captain. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's that. A lot of people. This is why comedy is dying because people don't understand that when you have the moron say all the stupid shit, it's because he's the moron. It's not saying that
Mm.
what he's saying is right. He's the idiot. You should believe the opposite of what they think. But
But you know what, too? I think we should take a minute to appreciate the fact that the cave women on the planet that they're on, the Amazonian women, exhibit a lot of male characteristics.
well,
They're all
yes,
muscular,
that's the joke,
right?
right?
They're right.
Yeah. So men die,
Right.
and then Bender has some bangers. There's a great sequence of basically just the men shitting on. Yes, you can be entertained by something without condoning it for sure. It's just like men die out many year ago, and Bender says, with all these women around, they probably nagged him to death. And then they do
Classic.
and then they do the women's basketball joke where it's like we can no dunk, but we have good fundamentals. That's why people watch. And then it immediately cuts to the guys laughing, which is and this joke
I
comes
think
back again later.
that whole WNBA debate thing is some pretty funny stuff. It's very
Well,
entertaining.
fun fact about the WNBA. So, Caitlin Clark, who made a big splash during the Final Four,
Right.
was picked by the Indiana Fever, which is my state's WNBA team. And in her first
Hmm.
game, she broke the record for most turnovers in a debut game.
That's right. That's right. I heard about that.
Now
Classic.
I'm going to defend Caitlin Clark for a moment.
Okay.
It was her first pro game ever, and she just got drafted. I'm sure she was nervous as shit. The second game will be
Probably.
telling. The second game will be telling. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't
I
know. We'll see if there's more of the same.
I
Did
don't
you
think so.
did you actually watch that game?
Fuck no, dude. I don't even watch the NBA. Why the
Fuck.
fuck would I? But
Fuck no.
I do say that to everybody because everybody was bitching about her pay, and I'm like, do you know how much money the WNBA loses every year? Like,
Literally, the WNBA is almost like it's like the PBS of sports. It's
but
literally
it's okay
like
though. It's
it's
okay though because they have good fundamentals.
oh.
Now
Well, like okay,
I'm saying this as a
I
guy who I know everyone on the WNBA roster would kick my ass at basketball.
to be honest, look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay, I would be down to watch more women's sports because if you really think about it, it's kind of gay to watch a bunch of sweaty dudes tackling each other or whatever, right?
You're saying
But
this to someone who has a pro wrestling podcast, just so.
oh yeah, yeah, okay, so there you go, right? But the thing is,
No, I will say this though. Whenever I'm trying to show somebody wrestling, some really gay shit happens in the ring. I'm just like, ah, come on.
why right now? Why
Like,
right
why
now?
not? And then Justin said, nah, PBS actually makes money.
That's funny. Does PBS make money? Isn't it mostly
Actually, yes.
government funded?
No. Actually, fun fact. PBS. Well, you never really know, right? Because they, but many people, and I don't know. I go back and forth on PBS because let's be real here. Shifting to politics for a moment. Let's be real here. The amount of money that PBS gets from the budget is like less than 0.1%. It's not a big thing. And honestly, I
Wow.
I'd almost be down for PBS to get a little bit more money because not necessarily from the government, because I think with a bigger budget they could make even better shit.
I was gonna say given its budgetary constraints, PBS has put out some quality programming over the years.
They really have.
Not for nothing, Sesame Street is the landmark children's TV show and has been at least since the 80s, if not longer. Actually, even too, I think it started in the
I think
70s.
in the late
Sesame
70s,
Street.
yeah.
70, that's right. Sesame Street and Sesame Street is on its, I believe it's like 85th season or something
Yeah,
crazy like that.
it's been around for quite a while, yeah.
Which, mind you, too, that kind of speaks to the incredible genius of Jim Henson,
Well, yeah, that goes
right?
without saying, right? But
I am the biggest nerd when it comes to the Muppets, Fraggles, Sesame Street, all that Jim Henson puppeteering stuff, Dark Crystal. I grew up with that
dinosaurs.
stuff. Dinosaurs, another
Oh,
classic. I rewatched the final episode of Dinosaurs. It is so fucking sad.
yeah,
It's
it
so
really is.
sad. It's
Yeah.
so sad. Yeah, like there
Futurama's got some pretty sad episodes too. There's one where Fry reanimates his old dog from the 20th
the
century. Now
old
that
dog,
one,
I was just gonna say that, and then the dog, you see the dog waiting for him when he freezes himself.
dude, it,
Oh my god. Tearjerker, 100%.
well, and it doesn't help that when I first watched that episode, I had just lost my dog that looked
Oh
just like
no.
Fry's dog. So
Oh
yeah, I
no. No,
can't.
you didn't.
I'm not
Oh
gonna
no,
lie. I
bro.
can't. I think I've seen that episode twice because like, and I mean
Because you
several.
can't.
I can't, dude. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Several years later, I tried to watch it again, and I just the ending just kills me every time, dude. Because like I like
Right.
animals more than people, so
Yeah, yeah, I think we all
like
do.
the
I
thought.
think
Well, if you don't, I don't think you're a good person. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Like
sure.
if you don't like dogs
Sure.
and or cat, because I get it. Some people prefer cats to dogs, but like if you just don't
Sure.
like animals, I don't fucking trust you.
Yeah, no, there's something, I don't know. Everybody should like animals. There's a very classic slow. Actually, you know what? Maybe I won't repeat that slogan. It's too political. I'll just
Fuck it,
leave
go
it
for
be.
it.
But love animals, hate Antifa. I
I'm down
think
with
that's
that.
a very. I'm down with that too. Yeah, I think that's a
No, and it's
classic.
really funny, and I can't remember her damn name, but there was somebody that was supposedly on Trump's short list as a VP pick, and I honestly
Mhm.
like I don't know who I'm voting for. Just throwing that out there,
Oh,
but
you guys have an election coming up, don't you?
yes. Which actually I need to talk to you about something. I can hit you up on Instagram afterwards because we'll get back on
Yes.
topic because we're getting to the
Yeah.
we're
We're getting
approaching
to
the
the
end of the
mark.
episode. But the and I can't remember her damn name. It's not Lauren Boebert. It's some other. That's the former governor of South Dakota. But anyway,
Hmm.
it came out that she tells a story in her biography, which the book's like 25 years old. But apparently she had a hunting dog and it wasn't exhibiting a hunting dog temperament. And then she took it out back and shot it and then shot a goat for some reason. And
What the fuck? What?
I'll be honest, it might seem silly to some people, but no, if she's Trump's VP, I can't vote for him.
Right.
I couldn't
Right.
do it.
Well, I mean, if she's an animal abuser of that kind, where she's killing a dog because it's not a hunting dog, that to me is very messed up.
Yeah, that's fucked up to me. Like I can think of 100 things to do with a hunting dog that's not hunting,
Sure.
and
Sure.
shooting is not even on that list. Like
No, no,
it's
it's not
just
even close.
it's
No.
not there. I don't understand what was oh yeah, and Justin's right. It was a puppy 14-month old.
Oh my
Yeah,
God. Yeah, no, I
yeah,
won't.
fuck that. So I actually
Why
said
would his what? But why would he choose a woman like that to be his running mate?
I see. I don't know. Well, my first guess would be because South Dakota never shut down during COVID.
Okay.
But once I heard
Oh
that,
wow, no way.
yeah. So once I heard that,
Are
I was
they
like, fuck that bitch.
Yeah, is South Dakota still dealing with like COVID? Is COVID still a
Nah,
thing?
nah, not
No.
really. They're making, like, I read an article yesterday how there's gonna be an upsurge in this year, and I'm like, no, there isn't.
Nah, nah,
Yeah,
nah, nah.
I'm
No,
sure
no,
it'll
no.
it'll it'll rear its head at the end of October. Wink, wink,
Yeah,
hint, hint.
a wink, wink. You know, they tried to
Just
pull
in
that
time.
here. They literally tried. The government started talking again about redoing lockdown and this super strain of COVID, and people like literally laughed in Trudeau's face, and then he just gave up. He's like,
Yeah,
no,
it's not going to happen here. Even the liberals aren't buying it at this point. Like, I'm
no,
sure like the
no.
Uber left will still wear masks and shit, but
Mm,
you're not gonna you're not gonna get away with it this time.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so this episode will be pulled. Actually, no, they're not enforcing that because we had an episode get taken down because we were making fun of the Delta variant, and we
Mm,
we didn't even say anything that wasn't reported in the news.
right,
And that
right.
episode to this day is still banned on YouTube, but it is available on Spotify.
Wow.
Flying with
Oh,
Delta,
wow.
which I loved. I love the thumbnail we did for that. We had an image of an
Flying with
airplane with a
Delta.
yeah, because it was right when the Delta variant was, and
That's
the
funny.
thumbnail was a plane with a face mask on it.
Fuck. That's wicked. That is
It
wicked.
was a very
You
good
know,
episode.
to be honest, okay, maybe a hot take. Okay, and this is coming from a guy who firmly believes in, the satanic pedophile cult and, all the other crazy things that are going on, aliens and all that. But I actually may have been made a believer of the vaccines, and I'll tell you why. Because, wait, baby, when did we get sick? When did we get COVID? Okay, she can't hear me. Anyways, so my girlfriend and I got COVID probably like 2 months ago, I think. And she almost died. She was sick for like 2 full weeks. Bro, for me, it was like the sniffles. It was literally like I had the sniffles for like a day or two. And it's the fourth time I've had COVID. And each time it got progressively less bad.
Yeah,
And this last time was literally, but I know it was COVID because my symptoms changed every few hours.
yeah.
I know for sure it was COVID. I've had COVID a bunch of times, but it was so light. I had COVID back in December as well, and it was nothing.
See,
And
see,
now,
I'm not sure. So my and I wish I had said it publicly because there's no record of it, and I held back saying it because I'm like, nah, that's crazy. Like, I'm talking 20 when did 2020 when it first became a thing, because I'm convinced that I got COVID in like February of 2020 before it was even like a
mhm,
big thing, because I got randomly sick for like a week and a half or so, and it wasn't
you definitely
so
got COVID,
it
hundred
well, here's
percent.
the thing though. It wasn't so bad that I needed to stay home, but it was bad enough to be really fucking annoying. But the thing was, I was super tired, and I didn't lose my taste, but it was heavily diluted, and I thought that was really fucking weird.
Hmm.
But I said because I knew other people who got it, I'm like, well, that's weird because, and this is when we didn't know fuck all about it, right? And I'm sitting there saying, I'm like, that's weird because I know people who've gotten it, and they're like, I don't know anyone that actually went to the hospital, but like a lot of people were like bedridden for at least a few days. And I'm like, it was, I mean, it was annoying, but I wouldn't say, and I'm like, I bet you there's multiple
Well,
strains, but I didn't say it at the time.
right, right.
And then turns
Well, I'll
out
tell you.
there's multiple strains.
I'll tell you, man. Look, I got okay. Okay, so the reason, let me kind of give some context here. At the time that people were getting the vaccines, okay, I was living at my parents' house because I had to go home for like a year, right? And my sister at the time was going through chemotherapy for lymphoma, and my dad had prostate cancer at the same time. Very messed up time of my life. And so my parents were like, look, we cannot risk anything that'll interfere with your sister's treatment because it's, cancer of the lymph nodes, although it was non-Hodgkin's, which is the less deadly one, so not to worry. But they're like, if you want to stay here, you have to get the vaccine. And so I was not thrilled about it. And I got the vaccine, and two things happened. One, the site of injection became magnetic. Okay. So like metal coins would stick to my arm. And when I say stick, I mean like I'd flap my arm like this and they would stay on. Okay. And I got these really strange like spots on the tops of my feet, which have not gone away. And it happened immediately after I got the vaccine and hasn't gone away since. But okay, so the first time I had COVID, I was sick for like 2.5 weeks. I almost died. Like I literally felt like I was dying because I have asthma. This last time that I had it, bro, it was literally like 2.5 days max. It was so late.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sorry to go off topic. I
No, no, you're
apologize.
good.
Let's.
So another really good gag was as they're exploring the Amazonian city, they see a comedy club named the Drollery Domicile, which I looked up. I know what a domicile is, but I
Drollery
drollery
is like humorous. Your
drollery.
humor.
Well, specifically curious or unusual in a way that provokes dry amusement.
Right. Well, I've heard the expression like, "Oh, that's so droll." Like,
Right, right.
right.
It's the drollery domicile, and the domicile is basically just a country
It's
that
a
a
home.
person, yeah, that's the,
Do Domicile's a home.
yep,
Like, it's like the technical term for somebody's
yep,
house. Yeah.
yep. So the dry house, the dry comedy house. I fucking love
Dry.
that. Uh,
The drollery domicile.
and and then, um, as they're describing the Amazonians are describing their style of comedy, um, Bender goes translation boring because they're saying it's like comedy comes from real life situations, not enforcing
Mm,
stereotypes.
kind of,
Translation
kind,
boring.
kind of like WNBA. Oh,
That's basically this entire episode is making that joke. But and
pretty
then
much.
and then the Amazonians say they're going to take them to their leader, and Fry asks, "Is she hot?"
Oh
Not
yeah.
important. She all knowing. Fry, in other words, no. Which is
So they go
then
and then
yeah.
it
Well,
turns
and
out to
then
be a big computer.
we're introduced to probably the best gag in the episode, Femputer,
Femputer.
which
Yes.
is played by voiced by B. Arthur, and it is
Oh.
fucking hilarious. And this is a spoof of the computer Landru from the Star Trek original Star Trek, not Star. That sounded too much like track, even though I didn't say that. But Star Trek, the original series episode, "The Return of the Archons," which I felt proud because I recognized that gag. Again, Star Trek fan. I recognized that gag the first time I watched the episode. I'm like, oh, that's funny as shit.
Right.
This is the only time B. Arthur has done a voice role for an animated show.
Oh no way.
The only time
She's dead
he
now, isn't
passed,
she?
yes. So
Right, right,
this
right.
episode
That was
will
like recently.
forever, within the last couple of years, yeah. So this will be
Yeah.
the only animated television show ever to feature B. Arthur's voice.
Pretty crazy. Were you a Golden Girls fan?
I wasn't for a long time because okay, so my mother watched it when I was very young, and I dismissed
Yeah,
it because
me
I'm
too.
like, who wants
Boomer
to watch a
TV.
show about? Oh, but then as an adult, I got introduced to it, and I was like, really? Like my girlfriend at the time was a big fan, and she was like, let's watch the Golden Girls. And I said, really?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
dude,
yeah.
5 minutes in, I'm laughing my ass off. It is such a great show.
Does it question though? Does it have a laugh track?
Yes.
Mm,
Oh no, dude.
I,
Trust me. It's 100%. B. Arthur, which this is an unpopular opinion, but
mm,
uh, Dorothy B. Arthur is my favorite Golden Girl because that just really fucking dry delivery is. Oh my god, it
right,
is so goddamn funny, and her
right.
sarcasm, and yeah,
Hmm.
and then they do a gag where the gentlemen are chained up on a wall and then choked.
Oh,
Harder,
that's right.
harder.
And Zap is like, how about a little spanking? And she
Go
punches
too
him in the
hard.
ass. Yeah.
Just those Zipes delivery harder, harder.
Harder. Yeah.
And then there's a gag about how the Amazonians only know about Snoo Snoo because of Legends and a subscription to Cosmo,
Right, 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 right,
and then that leads into the crushed pelvises joke and the dead guys in the corner.
right.
And they are sentenced by Femputer to death by Snoo Snoo, which
Hmm.
obviously means sex. And before they cut to the break, Kiff goes, "What are you, gay?"
Oh, yeah. So then I think that's the part after where they come like Bender goes to see Femputer.
Oh no, there's a few bits before that that are
Okay,
worth noting. So this is when
gotcha.
Leela makes a very impassioned and logical plea to Femputer that, I think her line is something to the effect of it's like, men aren't all bad. I mean, sure, they're morons, but most of them are kind of my friends.
Yeah, kind
But
of.
then Femputer says, maybe she's right. But then one of the Amazonians tells her they made fun of women's basketball. And in B. Arthur's voice, she goes, "What? Did you tell them about how they have superior fundamentals?" And they say, "Yes, they make
Yeah.
fun." And then she goes, "She must die."
They must die.
So this is when
So that
Bender gets out. It's a fun gag. So Bender points out that he is in fact not a man; he's a robot,
right,
and
right.
it's a gag. It's a blink and you'll miss it gag. But they're all handcuffed to the wall, right? Bender gets out of his handcuff to do the knocking on his crotch bit to show that he doesn't have a
Yeah,
penis,
yeah.
and then he puts his
And
hand
then
back
puts
in.
it back. Yeah. That's actually that's a
And
really clever.
and the thing is, it's a joke because if you watch it, it's not like his hand just disappears over the handcuff. The handcuff, they animate the handcuff coming undone and going back together. So this was a
Right.
deliberate joke. And Futurama doesn't make mistakes. They're
No. No, 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 no. They do everything on purpose. Well, like all I think we mentioned this earlier in the show, all of their formulas, all the math, all these things are all like
yeah,
on point,
and
right?
their references are on point. Speaking of references that are on point, the speaker that Femputer is speaking out of is a Sonia speaker.
Sonia. That's funny.
I saw
That's
that
you
and
got
I'm
to
like,
really.
I saw that and I was like, oh, that's funny
That's very clever.
because it's spelled Sony with an A after it,
Right, right, right.
and then it leads to another fantastic Zap Brannigan line when they're switching Amazonian partners. Is please, we need rest. The
I
spirit is willing,
mean,
but the flesh is spongy and bruised.
it's spongy and bruised. Where is that from, though? The flesh, no, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Where is that from?
I'm not
I've heard
sure,
that
but
before. I've
yeah.
made that joke to my girlfriend many times.
But so that leads, and this is how big of a nerd I am. Leela and Amy tell Bender that he needs to go reprogram Femputer to save everyone. And Bender says you can interface with my ass by kissing it. And then
Yeah, yeah,
Amy says something in Cantonese. Fat fate fongchi guli dasine, which translates to "you better do it or I'll kill you."
yeah. I think it's hilarious that her family, Amy's family, has taken over Mars, right? Because technically they're Martians, but they're Chinese,
Exactly.
right?
And
Yeah.
I love that guy. What are they? There's some kind of beetle ranchers, if I remember correctly.
That's right. And they sort of look like Kif, except they're like white.
A little bit, yeah,
They sort of look like
yeah,
Kif a little bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And no, no. Her family are beetle ranchers.
Yes,
That's how they made their fortune.
yes,
Right.
yes. Um, and then Bender finds out that, which this is obviously a Wizard of Oz joke. Bender finds out that Femputer is actually just a fembot operating the voice and the machinery and all that. And
Hmm.
then Bender, of course, seduces her, and then in
Yeah.
a great gag where yeah, yeah, release the prisoners through the loudspeaker and bring gold. And the Amazonians are like, why bring gold? And then you hear Fembot say, you heard the man.
Yeah. But they
And
don't they don't pick up on that, do
oh,
they?
I know. Oh God, it's
Okay.
such a great line. But then we end with the classic. It the camera pulls back to show because it starts with Amy and Kiff on the couch, and then it pulls back to see Zap and Fry with casts on their pelvises.
Right, right, right.
And with the fantastic line, I had snoo snoo.
I had Snu. Actually, just quickly to jump back, there's one part where they're talking about repopulating the human race, and then Zap is like, he's like, we're gonna have to get started on that. He's like, I'll see you. I think he says, I'll see you later, and then he's like, maybe you too. Turn
Yeah,
it to
to
Amy,
Amy.
right? Which is funny,
Yeah.
but it's funny because like he turns to Leela to say populating the human race, but Leela's not human.
This oh, I think they how did they I can't remember. No, you're right, because
Yeah, Leela's
she's
a
a
mutant.
yeah, she's a
She's a
mutant.
mutant.
I
Her
couldn't
her her and actually not only is she a mutant, her race, if you remember, there's another episode where she goes back to the planet that she's originally from, I think,
Yes.
and they have like a whole society of one-eyed Cyclops people.
Yes. Yep. I couldn't remember the order because at first she thinks she's an alien, but then she finds out she's a mutant, but then she's actually an alien, and it's
Yeah.
they go back and forth with it, and I couldn't remember the order. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
her parents fled to the sewers of Earth from some war or something like that. Which
yes,
also too kind of bespokes like kind of speaks to the like how well written the show is because there's like a really deep tragic backstory to Leela
yeah, and they
when
don't forget it
really
though.
no, that's right.
Yeah, their show Bible must be so it's been on so long now. Somebody's job must just be to have the show Bible in the writers' room be like, we can't do that, or at least we have to explain this.
Right. So the show Bible, just to make sure I understand, I think I do. A show Bible is where all the things that happen throughout the series,
All the
but you have to
continuity.
reference the
Yep,
Bible, the
yep,
continuity, right? Okay,
yep.
interesting. I didn't know that that was a thing.
I
I
don't
guess
know
that
if
makes
it's the
sense.
I don't know that it's the technical showbiz term, but I've heard it referred to, and it
Sure.
makes sense, the show Bible, you know. And a lot of shows nowadays, especially, either don't have one or they purposefully ignore it.
Hmm.
And it yeah, it's a very, very sad thing. Well, that is the episode, Amazon's in the Mood, and it's the best Futurama episode, at least that I've seen, because I haven't seen every episode, but just because, I mean, the pacing of the jokes is just perfect and it's genuinely funny. I mean, the thing's 23 years old.
I mean, I don't know. The Slurm episode would give it a run
Slurm
for
is
its money.
good.
Slurms,
Slurm is good.
Slurms McKenzie. That's so funny.
Okay,
That's like, Slurms McKenzie, bro. That's like, what was that dog? There was a beer that had a party dog in the 80s.
was that Bud Light?
I think it was Bud Light.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it
I
was
think it
Bud
was
Light.
Bud Light, and they had Barks McKenzie. I think it was or Spuds McKenzie, something like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure it wasn't a Bob and Doug McKenzie joke?
No, I don't
Probably
know
not.
actually. No, but I don't think so. I don't think so because there wasn't two
That's
characters
true. Yeah.
involved. It was just the one dog that like likes to party. He wears like a Hawaiian shirt, and then whenever the
Yes.
dog's around, you open a
Yes.
beer and start partying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was, my opinion, the best episode of Futurama ever written. And then Justin did add, about the dog killing bitch. Then she got on the news and doubled down, killing her political career because it turns out conservatives like puppies. I mean, you're not wrong. That's exactly what happened.
Love animals, hate Antifa.
Yeah, that should be the Trump rallying cry.
That would go out very popular with the Trump base.
Yeah.
I hope, you know what, man? I really hope Trump wins for you guys. We need to get Sleepy Joe out of office.
I'm
We need to
I'm
get
between I'm honestly between Trump and RFK, and I have not made my decision yet, but I'm not voting for
RFK.
Biden.
Also, not a bad choice, but yes, please don't vote for Biden. I mean,
I
the
have
guy
the
is
I have the luxury of living in a state that is going to be voting Trump. So it
very
really,
good.
like, I always say your vote counts, and it does, but it really doesn't matter who I vote for. Like,
Mm,
it's
yeah, I don't know.
my
The
state's going
Electoral
Trump.
College kind of complicates things. It's the popular vote. No, it's not the popular vote.
Correct.
It's
Well, it's the
right.
popular. Well, it's there's a few states that are exceptions, but the popular vote in your state, and then they get, which I'm actually a fan of the electoral college system, but
Okay.
I think it could be tweaked, and I can explain that on an
Well, I think
episode
I think
that I
the
want to talk to
Electoral
you about.
College. Yeah, we should talk about that next episode. I think the Electoral College system basically makes sure that like votes are weighted equally according to population density. Is that kind of the premise behind the
It
Electoral
is
College?
essentially, yes. So it's basically to prevent like Los Angeles and New York from dictating the entire country.
Right, right. Well, although actually those two states alone together, could they stand a fighting chance? Let's say somehow, which they
If you did
probably
a
don't.
if you did a popular vote, maybe it would be
Maybe.
substantially in favor of.
Well, I know the population of California is what, 95 million?
I'd have to look. I'm not sure, but I mean, it's
I
up there.
think I think
Well,
it's
and
like
even
95.
but even the population doesn't really matter. It's the voting population. But
Right, right.
But theoretically, like the more people you have, the more potential voters you have. But we can actually do. We might just do that next time as a
I think we
Canadian and
should we
American
should
talk about the electoral college
I think we should. I really think we should. I have a lot to say about the issue.
from Canada.
From Canada, that's right. Yes. Hold on one
But
second.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so
I know we're gonna wrap it
yeah.
up.
I'm so sorry, brother. I am
No,
so
you're
sorry
good.
that we can only do an hour and a half, but thank you for having me on. As always, another interesting discussion. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Shout out to all the fans.
Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.
Smash that like button.
And listen to Valena.